Hello there, welcome to another episode of the Allotment Dram. This is a series of short videos where we sit and talk about different whiskies in the surroundings of our North London allotments. You join me here on what's been a lovely afternoon actually, quite warm, a little bit overcast, but otherwise, can't really complain. Sowed a few things today, so put some seeds of radish, chard and also spinach into the ground, so hopefully they won't take too long in these sort of conditions to come up. But while that's all very interesting, I'm sure you didn't tune in to hear about the weather or what I've been doing up here. You've tuned in to hear about some whiskey, I'm sure. But what is the Allotment Dram today, I hear you ask? Well, it's another new whiskey, and this has been, quite a nice little trot that we've been on, where been having like lots of samples sent to us, and this is another one, and this is from quite an underrated Scottish distillery actually, and it's Bladnoch, and it's the Bladnoch Alinta. This is brand new, going into their core range, and it's actually the first known smoky version of Bladnoch that's been released, so very exciting. It always interesting to see when a distillery does something kind of out of their norm, or out of their comfort zone, so to speak. But yeah, so very excited to try that. They only produce like peated single malt for a very short period of the year, so roughly equates for just under 10% of their annual production, which is about 1.5 million litres a year. So you can do the maths there, because mine's not very good. But with this, the Alinta, Alinta is an indigenous Australian word for fire or smoke, and this is a little sort of hat tip to David Pryor, who is the current owner, who's Australian businessman who took over the distillery. So yeah, a little hat tip to him. And what it is, it's first fill bourbon casks and also first fill Pedro Jimenez casks, and these have been put together by Dr. Nick Savage, who's the master blender at Bladnoch these days. And obviously not 50-50, they don't reveal the percentage, but those two types of casks, first fill bourbon and first fill Pedro Jimenez sherry, and put together. And here we are. So this comes in like one big cube sort of shape of bottle, and it's bottled at 47% and will go for around £80 a pop. So just before we do a quick taste, I'll tell you a little about Bladnoch, because it's not really one of those distilleries that's particularly well known. It's got a little bit of a cult following for a number of reasons. So it was founded 1817 by two brothers. This was Thomas and John McClelland, and it's right down in the south of Dumfries and Galloway, so very close to a village called Wigtown. So if you look at it on a map and you draw a line horizontally across, it's actually further south than the most northern parts of England. So the coast kind of dips down below where the border is. So yeah, it's actually further south than the city of Newcastle. So yeah, quite a cool little sort of anomaly, a little fact there. And its name comes from a Gaelic name for a small sort of area within, near to Wigtown, called Bladnoch. And excuse anyone that actually speaks Gaelic, that basically just heard me annihilate that. But Bladnoch is kind of where the name comes from, and that is spelled Bladzeenock, Bladnoch. So that's where the distillery gets. This is the anglicised version of that name, Bladnoch, and it's had quite a checkered history. It's been closed a number of times throughout its history for quite a long periods, almost 70 years of it's just over 200 years, almost 70 of those years it's been closed. Most recently that was in 2014, when the previous owners unfortunately got liquidated, and yeah, the whole distillery, that was very sort of rocky as to what was going to happen to it, all the equipment being sold off, and and so on, until David Pryor, this Australian businessman, kind of came in 2016, took it over, and basically has sort of ploughed on with this revolution, you know, totally renovated the place, opened a visitor centre, redesigned the whole sort of range as well, with the packaging and the look and everything. So production started in 2017, and they've really gone, you know, very successfully from there. But that's me sort of rattling on for like 5.5 minutes, so I think we really ought to sort of try this and see what this like first ever documented release of Bladnoch is like. So let's have a little smell and a taste. So you'll see a very light pale gold colour, and it's actually the smoke, you know, it's quite heavily peated, I think, because the smoke is really like leaping out as soon as I open this tiny little bottle, you know. So yeah, wow, it's very youthful smoke. It's quite ashy, quite mineralic, quite dominating actually, the smoke. And this happens with sort of younger smoky whiskies. They tends to be all smoke up front, and then you have to kind of fight through to get any other characteristics, but they are there. I'm getting some vanilla, for example. There's some plenty of green fruit, like green apple, green pear, like really crisp. Bit of white chocolate. Yes, that sweetness. And then underneath is like this earthy, sort of malty, almost like biscuity quality. But let's have a taste. So this sort of youthfulness that we experienced on the nose comes across again. Very youthful peat smoke, fresh, vibrant, quite full on, you know, 47%. So, you know, they've put it at quite a nice strength, but yeah, it really accentuates those youthful peaty flavours. And again, it's got this sort of ashy, so I'm talking like a bonfire ash or embers, you know, just as the fire is dying down. So it's got that sort of woody edge to it. Yeah, and now it's coming like a bit more like seaweed, like there's a bit of iodine in there, quite medicinal, maybe just like a hint of tarmac, like bitumen that you put on the road, that type of thing. But let's have another taste. Again, this youthful peat smoke, quite acrid, got that mineralic quality that we spoke about on the nose as well. But again, fighting through these other characteristics, as led by the sort of malty, biscuity, sort of cereal note. That gives it a bit of structure rather than it being like quite light and quite heady. It gives it a bit of structure. But then you've got this very sort of green sort of set of notes, like apple, pear, particularly these green orchard fruits, vanilla. There's a bit of coconut, just like desiccated coconut in there, and then just a suggestion of some like raisins. There's just a little like twist of like lemon zest at the ends right there. But yeah, it's that smoke that's dominating. And this kind of leads, because all these like sweeter and the cereal notes kind of fade away, gives you quite a warm, peppery, again quite ashy finish. So yeah, very, very interesting. You know, not really tried much Bladnoch, you know, tried one or two old ones, but or old like retro bottlings, I mean, rather than old in terms of age. But yeah, not tried too many of these, you know, two or three of this core range. So this will sit quite nicely and obviously present something quite different from their traditional, you get quite traditional Lowland style, which is quite light, delicate, you know, quite fresh. But I mean, that has all of that, but you're adding this like youthful peat smoke on top. So it'd be very interesting to see when the peated malt actually gets a little bit more age to it, how it will develop. So That's pretty much it from me and the Bladnoch Alinta. We will leave you to get on with whatever you were doing before you discovered this video. We hope you've enjoyed it, and we hope to see you again on another Allotment Dram very soon. Cheers!